Welcome to the Evening Gamer. I'm Taylor.
And I'm Guy.
And we're back again after a week off, actually, I just remembered.
Yes, and we are ready to go. I'm primed. I'm game. Let's do it.
I'm getting there. I've been knocked around by the fucking flu.
As have I.
Which is why we couldn't record.
Very true. It would sound very not great if we're sniffling and coughing doing a bloody podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I don't actually know how I sound. I must sound still. Do I sound? Well, we can't.
I think we both still sound a little bit on the bad side. I'm sure we'll hear about it from Kyle.
Man, fucking the flu in Sydney, bro. Like, as soon as it comes around to autumn, it's just like everyone just in the office. Everyone is sick.
I reckon even since COVID, it's not even like when it's winter and autumn. It just like it goes through a whole fucking. It's all through the year now.
It really knocked me around. My energy levels were not great, which is why we couldn't record.
I mean, I don't know how I'm surviving. I keep going out, and that's probably what's pushing it on.
There's something about a cold that's like, no, I'm not going to get sick yet, which actually kind of works until you just die in the arse like a week later.
Comatose.
Anyway, we're back.
We are back.
Episode 8. We're back to normal structure. Well, we're not. I always say that we're back to normal structure. It's the same as it always is.
This is episode 8. We do have a structure now that we've been using.
I'd love to say we have corrections corner, but we don't this week.
No, we do. I got one.
Oh, you got a correction?
Yeah,
okay, cool.
I mean, it's a minor one, but like I just noticed listening back to the last episode, there was points where we kind of were jumping back and forth between Need for Speed Unbound and Need for Speed Underground. And I think you asked me at one point going, when did Need for Speed Underground came out? And I was like, it was like last couple of years ago. And I was thinking of Unbound. Do me a favor, and can you change the names of the game a little bit? Like Unbound, Underground, like...
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
They didn't really... Their creative receptors didn't really go off.
I'd love to be a fly on the wall when these marketing people are sitting in there going, right, we're doing another Need for Speed game. What should we call it? And they're all throwing these things like shit at the wall, going like Unbound, Underground, this, that. Like, come on.
That's how I imagine those fucking meetings going at gaming companies, and they're like, hey, what should we do next? Just shit, mate. Come on.
Well, yeah, I mean, I feel like they come up with the game and then the name it's sometimes irrelevant. It's like, have we called a game this before? Is there another game with this name? Like,
it's like they finish the game and they're like, oh shit, we have to do that. What's the title of this book?
How are we going to market this? Yeah. Unbound.
And
why was it called Unbound? What is the relevance of it being Unbound? Who is Unbound?
Oh, I suppose the fucking main character's unhinged. But like, it would be
I played the game and he wasn't.
It'd be hilarious if that's what delays the release of all these games. Like, oh, we're going to need another quarter. Just push back the release date. And they've actually created the game, but they're just sitting in a boardroom. No creative flair at all. Just trying to think of the name for it. And you know what? Let's just change a couple of letters from Underground, I reckon, and just make it Unbound.
Maybe that's the reason why GTA's been pushed back. What do we call this one? GTA 6? Shit.
We can't keep calling it after the city, can we?
I mean,
just give it a number.
Goodness me.
Anyway, sorry.
What are we doing this week?
So that was Corrections Corner. We got 2 reviews. Then we have questions from a hat. We're back, baby. My game is the very hardly trending. I don't know. I don't think my words are great this morning. I'm still a bit knocked around from this cold.
Words no good.
It's fucking early. This is the earliest we've ever recorded.
It is bright and early.
It's 9:30, but yeah, forgive me for these little slip-ups. I'm doing Dragons Dogma 2 by Capcom.
We're doing Dragons Dogma in a part 1, part 2, we should clarify.
Yes,
so it's not going to be a full review. We want to talk about it more in another episode, but we're sort of, breaking that one up a bit.
We didn't think it fair to give it a full review because, it only came out a week ago. I'm only 17 hours in. I think you're only a handful of hours in.
Yep.
So we're going to talk to like the initial experiences, the storyline, how it's ramping up, a few things like that. But then we'll do a part 2 when we finish the game, hopefully in a month's time or so, where we actually give it a proper review.
Yep. And my game this week is going to be Control, which came out a few years ago, but I really enjoyed it, so I'm going to sort of give it a bit of a glowing endorsement. But yeah, they're the games this week.
Yeah, you recommended it to me, and I really enjoyed it too. And it's good. It's good when we have a game that we've both played.
Yes, we can both speak to it with confidence.
Yeah, even though 80% of this podcast just seems to be us talking shit about things, but I like.
Isn't that 90% of most podcasts?
That's true, actually. 2 white boys with a podcast. Did you ever see that reel?
I did see that reel.
Funny.
And when we started this, that was going on in the background of my mind going.
All right. Anyway, do you want me to go first? Because I feel like Dragons Dogma is trending. There's a few things that I want to talk about.
Well, I feel like because we're going to do it in a part 1, part 2, I think we should do that one second because then next week when we do the part 2, we'll flow straight onto it.
Nah, I'm going to go first.
Okay.
Dragons Dogma 2. You shut up now,
Shit
man.
on my
You
logic.
Shut up. I'm just doing my review.
Two white guys on a podcast.
Dragons Dogma 2. Over-the-shoulder, third-person fantasy game developed by Capcom. You've heard of it. It's just come out. 2024 game. As I said, I played just shy of 20 hours. Some of those hours very enjoyable. Others are quite painful.
Yes, you've not had a pleasant experience with it.
No. Before we get into that, let's talk about the storyline. Obviously, I haven't finished it, but I'm far enough through that I get the gist of it. You play a character called the Arisen, right? You've had your heart ripped out by a dragon and you've been cursed by a source unknown. You've been stripped of all your titles, which I won't tell you what they are because it'll spoil the game, but essentially you were somebody, you've had your heart eaten, and now you're a peasant and you kind of lost your memory and you've got to figure everything out. It's the old find out who hates you and wants your head before they kill you kind of thing. So there are 4 vocations, okay, which you can start with. Thief, archer, mage, swordsman. We've seen it all before. I went thief because I'm all about movement, right? I don't hate it, but like trying to incorporate a shield into gaming for me because I'm so dodge and parry orientated just feels wrong. So that was that was my thought process behind not going swordsman and going thief, because thief holds like 2 stiletto knives and is very quick.
Because when you said parry heavy, I mean incorporating a shield, you would parry with a shield.
Yeah, I mean more deflections, but that would also be shield based. But yeah, I know that you went mage on this one.
I did go mage.
After in a previous episode, I was talking about how overpowered mages are.
That's why. Well, because having played Elden Ring, and I remember playing that game and going, it's such a mage-heavy kind of game, and all the spells, I felt like I neglected a whole part of that game. So this time around, I was like, well, I'm going to go against my usual selection of a fighter and go with the fucking mage. And thus far, playing 2 hours of it, you just...
2 hours?
Well, it's 2, maybe 3. Having all your pawns run in and fight, and then you're just sat there spamming one button, shooting spells... and then you're trying to get this flame ignition move going on, and like, I don't know, I just was watching my pawns going, that looks like a lot more fun than I'm fucking having back here.
Yeah, that's always the conundrum with mages. We'll get into combat and build and upgrades in a moment, because I've played enough of the game to tell you a little bit how that develops and improves.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to talk about one thing that when I loaded into it, I wasn't completely sold on, which was the look and the art style.
Okay.
Not my favorite.
It's very Capcom-esque, of that kind of arcadey, I don't know, sort of reminds me of like a fighting game kind of art style.
The art style, when I loaded in, felt very Witcher 3, PC, 2016 game release in terms of graphics, RuneScape-y kind of look.
Sort of, yeah. I'd probably go a little bit further than the RuneScape, because for me, that RuneScape image in my head is kind of almost like, I don't know, pixelated in a weird way. But yeah, I know what you mean. It was I felt like it was almost Elden Ring watered down.
Yes.
Like a sort of with a weird,
or like
filter over it or something.
Yeah, or it kind of felt like a game that was brought out in black and white and had been colored later. When you see a photo from like World War II and it's been colored in? Yeah. And it's like, you're like, oh, that's definitely been... That's kind of like...
I know what you mean. And I feel like not even just in the art style, but it carries over to like even just the pure movement. Like Elden Ring's movement, and I'm going to keep comparing it against it because I feel like there's similar tones and styles to it. Elden Ring's movement was clean, tight, very like just perfect in my mind. But playing Dragons Dogma, it's floppy. I feel like it's floppy. Like the way you run and sprint, it's all very kind of almost reminds me of like a GTA, like Ballad of Gay Tony, almost kind of like weird dynamic.
Yeah, just before we get onto that, coming back to the art style, like, I didn't put this game beside Elden Ring. I wanted to, and I started playing, and I said, no, don't do that. This is a Capcom release of Dragons Dogma 2. It's a direct sequel from the first one. Like, don't compare it to those amazing Souls games that I've played. And I've played a lot of them now. I really tried to go in here with a blank canvas.
Yeah.
A blank sheet, and really tried to just take it as it came. But I must say that, like, something that I did do was when I thought about Breath of the Wild and when I thought about Tears of the Kingdom and the level of artistic beauty that they were able to bring into that game on Switch, which we know has half, maybe even less than half the processing capabilities of these next-gen consoles, of PCs. those games looked better. They looked better than Dragons Dogma 2, which for me is like when you go to download a file that's 80 gigs and it's not in what it looks like, you start to wonder where is that space coming from? What's it gone into?
I feel like we know, anybody who's sort of followed the release of Dragon's Dogma knows where the PC power is going towards, and it's because all the NPCs have preordained set courses. And that's what's caused a lot of PC players who are running on low-level graphics cards mass murdering NPCs to speed up their computers.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, right. Okay, I didn't know that. Let's so look. I'm not taking anything away from it. I'm just saying it's not my look or art style. Like I like very much gothic overtones. I like games that look beautiful, feel great. Let's get on to mechanics and flow. Because I was going to go the other way from this. I thought there's no input lag. It's relatively easy to move around. I'm not sure about the jumping off small heights. Have you kissed the pavement yet from jumping?
I have. I jumped off accidentally a tower and just got full 8 pavement, yeah.
I just don't get that when you jump off something, your player, the Arisen, feels like instead of landing on his feet that he's just going to tip forward and just nosedive straight into the ball.
Yeah, I know.
It's been weird. That was a really weird one for me. But in terms of the flow, I actually thought, like, I know what you mean. At the beginning, I was like, oh, this feels a bit different. It feels a bit slow. What's going on here? But as I got more into it, here's something to do. If you've just started playing it or you're like 20 hours in like me, and Guy, this is directly for you, go into your settings and you can actually change the distance of the over-the-shoulder look. So it's very, very close when you load in as the default setting. Back it up a bit so you've got maybe like a meter or two in-game space between the camera and your player. Makes sense. That helps the feel and look a lot better, because I had the same problem when I was in like a cave. Yeah. Often the camera would be in a wall. Right. And I couldn't see what I was doing. Interesting. And it's just because you're too close. So go into your settings, go and look for almost like the POV camera setting and back it up a bit, and it flows a lot better. Let's go directly into combat, because I think we agree on this. A little bit spammy.
Yeah, a little bit spammy. Thus far.
A little bit spammy. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of Lord of the Rings, The Third Age, that came out in 2004. Did you ever play that on PS2?
Briefly, yeah.
That's the combat that this game has.
Right.
It's like every fight I get into, it's a big battlefield. There's 4 or 5 of you because you've got your pawns. There's tons of enemies, and you kind of just run around. You're not really dodging too much. You're just trying to get them. You're just kind of trying to run through them.
Yeah.
So it really reminded me of that Lord of the Rings game that came on. One thing I will say is, for a game that has no lock-on, I actually think that they did that pretty well. Like, you know how you click a button, you lock onto an enemy, and then you have to kind of switch between? This game doesn't do that. You kind of just cue a move, and it kind of just automatically goes to the person that's closest to you. I thought that was actually really good. I thought they did that really well. In terms of a little bit more about combat, special moves are easy to implement. I like the passive moves that they've got going as well. And the storyline, I'm actually into it.
Okay. I mean, I like, with going to the move sets, I like the idea with the wizard or mage or whatever they call it, that, you've got to load up the spell, and it leaves you vulnerable while that occurs. And it kind of brings in the pawn whole system, which is, I feel, their marquee element of this game, and was similar to their previous Dragon's Dogma. They've sort of given it a whole new coat of paint where you roll up on a stone, go into a shadow realm, and you get to pick either yours, create your own, or select from other players or even Capcom's own pawn system. You get a primary pawn which upgrades with you, and then you get to select a handful of other ones that don't upgrade, so it forces you to go back and re-up and get new pawns. And I think with the pawn system, it comes back to one thing I really did enjoy about Dragon's Dogma, which was the creation of the character. I thought it was one of the best ones I've come across that was very detailed, that you could literally create the character that was in your mind's eye, and I really enjoyed that part, and sort of the tattoos, and you could, revolve the tattoos, it wasn't sort of preset ones, so you walked away feeling like, yeah, my dude or girl is so unique that, it kind of you have an appreciation, and then of course you see it in all the cutscenes, all the things. Have you ever in a character creation screen gone, you know what? I'm going to make a really fucking ugly dude or girl just so when you watch the cutscenes, you're like, look at this melon. Like,
look, I've thought about it, but I typically don't do it. I try and keep my characters slim and slender so that they don't take up heaps of, like a big footprint in the game, and their hitbox maybe isn't so ridiculously big. I keep that in mind.
But you know what I'm talking about with those trends of people online where they make these stupid characters.
I got this random pawn that walked out that I recruited, because pawns are other people's creations of characters, right? And it was this hefty,
girthy,
like huge. I was like, damn. But
you fat shaming these NPCs.
You should have seen that she had so much attitude as well when I was in excuse me, when I was in cutscenes. You should have seen the way that she was looking at me and just her facial expressions. I was like, fucking what the hell, bro? But she actually, that pawn showed me how powerful mages can be. Like some of the spells that she was casting for me were fucking really good. I'm not sure about the pawn system. I'll say
really?
that much.
Okay.
Not because it's bad, but just because it's not how I like to game. I like combat games to be close, personable, very much dodge orientated. I'm on my own. That's where I find the challenge. Right. And let's get into that. People have been saying that this is a really challenging game, especially at the beginning. I'm yet to find a challenge.
I mean, thus far, I haven't found a challenge. You know, I've sort of versed a few bosses, or not bosses, but enemies out in the wild, roamed around. Apart from that early, what was it? Not a minotaur. You know, what mythological creature?
Yeah, the Cyclops.
No, it's the one who turns people to stone. What are they called?
Medusa.
Yeah, Medusa. There's a Medusa you fight really early on.
Yeah, very briefly.
Very briefly. But even that one, I was like, you're still figuring out the movesets. You're running around and you're just kind of spamming, and all your little minions are jumping on.
Well, that's something as well. In the beginning of this game, there's like 3 mini boss fights that, when you get halfway through them, the boss just legs it. Yeah. And like I was a bit like, really? I was kind of looking forward to the XP here because I could have survived this whole battle. I was not struggling at all. Yeah. But like I've now killed excuse me. I've now killed 3 Cyclopses. I've fought 2 Oxes with axes. I've fought 2 dragons. Okay. I've gone between multiple villages on foot, camping during the night, fighting the ghosts, what do they call them?
Yeah, I just call them ghosts.
Yeah. The ghosts. There's another word that's killing me. I can't remember. The phantoms. They call them phantoms. Oh, okay. Fighting the phantoms, fighting the skeletons, fighting the elves, fighting the lizards. Nothing has killed me yet.
Right, okay.
The only way I've died is that a Cyclops threw me off its back, and because of that fucking fall system that we were just talking about. Yeah. Apparently falling 4 feet does more damage to you than getting stomped on by a Cyclops. But anyway, that's the only way I've died.
Interesting.
I've yet to come up against
I'm the
a challenge.
same. The only way I've died is from gravity. So just talking about gravity, there was a point in the game where you get to the first little hut, settlement, whatever the fuck it's called. And one of my, I got on my mini map, like a exclamation mark, being like, something's here. I was like, all right. Went and looked there, nothing there. Climbed up a ladder, went down a ladder, nothing there. And I've been meaning to Google this, and you might be able to correct me if on this, but I think when your NPC goes like, oh, there's something up there, in their little audio cues, you get an exclamation mark on your mini-map. And then I probably spent 15 minutes running around this one spot going, what the fuck is here? Why am I being told to come to this location and there's nothing here? Which is a little bit of an annoyance for me.
Yeah, the exclamation point on the mini-map, and there's a few things on the mini-map I had to figure out. The exclamation point is, yes, when your pawn finds something that can be interacted with, repaired, or something like that, or is like a POI. Yeah. That's when it comes up. But you have 4 commands you can give your pawns, which are help, to me, go,
or defend, or whatever it is. Yeah.
But if they say something like that, they're like, hey, we should check that out. If you click the go button, they'll go to it.
Oh, okay.
Or they'll lead you to it, which is actually pretty helpful. But yeah, there's definitely a lot going on in the mini-map there.
Yeah. I mean, I like the pawn system. I think it works within this style of kind of spammy fighting, and sort of your whole crew rolling up and you get to sort of assemble the crew you want. I don't think you sort of, it's not like a Dragons not Dragon's Age, sort of thing where your party has sort of deep storylines, or like a Baldur's Gate where, each of them have got real definitive storylines. I think there's a little bit of that, but, sort of not much. I think your primary minion might have a little bit of that, but, you might know better than I. You've played further into it, but we should get to a review on it.
Yeah, look, we won't. I won't give points now. It's just not fair. The last thing I wanted to say is, it's really shown me how much I like the dark gothic genre of these types of games. Like in Dragons Dogma, it's very much, "Hello, sir. How are you going? There's a treasure chest over yonder." And it's like, all right. And like the way your pawns speak to each other sometimes just makes me want to mute them. Just shut up.
That has been one of the criticisms online. A lot of people have said is they talk too much. They carry on a bit, and like the fifth time they're like, "Let's go up a ladder." You're like, "Tsh."
Yeah, just like, okay, you know what? You're dismissed. Just fuck off. I'll get another one. But yeah, like it's like you're in this game that's like really kind of serious, and death lingers everywhere, and then you've got, "Hello, old mate, trying to go for a yarn." Like it's like, okay, like imagine if you're at war and you're in the trenches and your mate turns to you and is like, "Well, we should probably go over into Dead Man's Land, shouldn't we now?" You'd be like, "Really, bro? Like that's the pump up chat that you're gonna get." And like, this is the one thing I will say when I put it directly against Elden Ring is like, you've got Elden Ring where it's like, "I am Melania, Blade of Mikola," and you're like, that's sick. And then you get into Dragon's Dogma and it's,
are you doing the voice again?
It's what I've just done, and that's the only thing I say is, and that adds to kind of look artistic feel of the game. But look, let's wrap this up. I'm 20 hours in. Actually, before we do wrap it up, the biggest grievance I had, and I'm sure there's other people experiencing this on PC or console. I only have a workaround for console. It's when the game cannot create a save file. I've been having this constantly playing this game. Here's the fix on console. Go to your home button. Open up another game very quickly without dashboarding or exiting out of Dragon's Dogma. Just go home button, different game. Let that game start loading in. Go directly back to Dragon's Dogma 2 so that it initiates a quick resume, and it will reset. It will sever the connections, reset, and you can quickly save your game.
Fucking hell.
Now, that sounds like, why am I mentioning that? But if you've had the issue with that save file being created and it doesn't, you can't save and you end up playing for hours and hours and hours and it destroys your progress, that's how, if you want to stop playing and it's doing it, load another game, let quick resume come in, go back into Dragon's Dogma and save your file. That has worked for me every single time.
What a ball ache that sounds like.
And to be honest, I was very close to uninstalling this game because it kept happening, and it's been over a week, and they still don't have a fix, which is unacceptable to me. That's fucking unacceptable. This game is almost unplayable for people, and you haven't fixed it in a week. Find the bug and fix it and release a patch, for fuck's sake, Capcom.
I'm like amazed. We talked about it in a previous episode how they don't discover this shit in like playtesting.
And like if you're I know in playtesting, have your playtest, but also, you charged 122 Australian dollars marketplace for this game, which is $40 more than I've paid for a game in a fucking long time. And to think that for the first 10 hours, I had this thing that I needed to explore a workaround for that you could have fixed incredibly fast, it puts you really behind the eight ball in terms of this game in my mind.
I mean, it's not even the only issue or criticism people have had with it. There was also, when they released it to reviewers, there was no microtransactions. And then after the reviewers all were like, "It's a great game," they released it and everyone's like, "What the fuck? Where's these microtransactions come from?" So it's sneaky, like late decision. Very weird.
So sneaky. So sneaky.
Yeah. But I mean, the microtransactions, they've defended it by being like, it's not necessary. You can just purchase items that you would find in the game anyway. And like, it does bring me to what will be our question later on. We'll throw back to this moment because when we do questions from a hat, mine's a little bit relevant on this.
It's greedy to me. It's fucking greedy.
Yeah.
To make people pay the upwards of that for a game, and then to put paywalls in front of them, to be honest, it doesn't put Capcom in a good light. This is one of my first experiences with this developer, and I just think cash grab, greedy.
Yeah. You're so on the money. Excuse me. This is getting worse. You're so on the money with that point, though, because games game developers out there that do not do microtransactions actually gain a respect from the player. I think people who've been gaming a long time go, you know what? That company, there was no in-store marketplace, there was no cash grab, there was no et cetera, et cetera. There's one DLC, it costs $15, expands the game. Fair enough. You've put more hours into developing that additional story and content, I'll play for that. But if you want to charge fucking, $5 for a reskin recolor, we've talked about it before, kids just falling into that trap and giving their money away. It's the gaming companies though, it's putting, money beyond all else. And there was that, I've mentioned it before, WoW, they had some horse recolor and it generated more revenue than entire StarCraft 2 or something crazy like that. It's just insane.
Yeah, you know what it is? It's wages for labor, as you said, yeah. If they've put labor into something, I'm happy to pay the money. But when it's like paywalls for recolors and stuff like that, I see that as a fine for playing this game.
Yeah.
I'm getting fined for liking this game and being a player that actually wants to develop my character instead of just saying, you know what, the more you play, the more we'll reward you. If you just have $10, we'll give it to you. Fuck off. Like that is the worst part of this day and age's gaming by far. It's fining the player for being into something.
Yeah.
After they've already paid their money, by the way, Capcom, and well above market for a game of this caliber, well above market. Yeah. Because it's not even the best one out there. So I'm going to say way, way, way above market. However, let's wrap it up.
Yep.
20 hours in. I love the autonomy. I think the combat actually flows pretty well. The loot upgrades, a little bit underwhelming. Like there's only 3 levels of upgrades for skin and for weapons and armor, which are really easy to do.
Okay.
I really like getting a weapon and having to grind away at it, and it becomes just amazing by the time you level it out. You don't get that in this game. That's fine. The character and the storyline, I'm fully into it. The artistic look, not my favorite, but it works well. If I put aside the grievances and stuff like that, I'm worried that this is going to become a game that I get obsessed with. So it has that potential, this game. I've really enjoyed it so far. I hope it keeps growing on that. Keen to hear what you think about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm similar. I'm going to give it a red hot go for a period of time. I'm enjoying what I've experienced thus far. I like the going off the beating track. You quite quickly stumble across things. And this was, I think, one of the key selling points of the game was you can go off the beating path really early on, not follow the main story, and kind of craft your own adventure kind of style and just experience it. And I think one element about it that may annoy me a little bit is because these NPCs have their own linear tracks that you don't need to trigger their storylines. They just may occur whether you're there or not. There's entire game playthroughs that you might experience it completely differently. But for me, I'll only play the game once. You have to be a game of the highest order to make me even consider replaying a game. I so seldom would consider that, and so with this one, I just see myself playing it once and realizing I've missed this, I've missed that, I've missed so much content bits, but whatever.
Yeah, I hear. Yeah, and I would agree. When it comes to new game +1, it needs to be, as you said, of the highest order. But keen to see where this goes. Going to definitely keep playing it. I've had a bit of fun.
Agreed.
All right, mate. Control.
Yes, Control. It is time to review Control. Now, this game came out 2019, action-adventure game. It is developed by Remedy Entertainment, and they've got a pretty good track record. So Quantum Break was theirs, Alan Wake 1 and 2, and Alan Wake 2 is on my list, and I want to play him. I know T didn't enjoy Alan Wake 1. I never played it myself. But
I'm sitting here with a very tight-lipped smile, not saying anything.
But Alan Wake 2 does look a lot different and better, so I'm sort of keen for that one. And, of course, Max Payne games, which hold a special place in a lot of people's hearts. So, Control. Now, this game, I came across it, somebody, or I watched something, or a Reddit page just was like, this is a good game to play. And I think it was similar to me in terms of Returnal, of just a game that I came across, gave it a chance, didn't do much research on it, and bought it, started playing. Now, I'm going to break from tradition in, obviously, I'm about to review this game. But what I want to say to anybody listening to this is stop listening to this podcast. If you want a game to play right now, go download it. Don't listen to anything else we have to say. Don't read anything on it. Don't watch anything on it. Just start playing it. Now, I'm going to sort of pause there for anybody to do that. Now, my reason for that is that is what I basically did. Where I've got, Reddit was like, play this game. And I was like, all right, I'll give it a go. I put it in, started playing it. You sort of load into New York and sort of quickly enter this skyscraper of a building. And the story just unravels. And I found it such a pleasure to just dive into this world and learn about it and experience it. And I remember playing it, and your expectations as you start playing this game is, it's a sort of, I'm an FBI agent kind of person, and it's going to be kind of tight gunplay. And, you sort of, when you start playing it and you then realize it ain't like a, semi-cop kind of drama-y kind of game. Like, my expectations were so wrong from the drop. It veers sharply and quickly into a supernatural-esque sort of, like coming across these items of power, these crazy events. The enemy types are scary at times. The vibe is so good. The way it sets the tone of it being this horror office block sort of, Cold War era building. It just grabbed me so hard that I was in for the ride the whole way through it. And when I got to the end, I sat back and was like, what a fucking game. What a game.
I think I almost had an aneurysm hearing you tell people not to stop listening to our podcast. And I've been trying to recover for the last minute since then. But sure, okay, sure.
But you see the point I'm making with that?
No,
I
do, because
it's like
shut
that
up,
mate.
I'm talking.
Wait, it's like that mate who goes, just go watch this movie. Don't read about it. Don't look it up. Don't get an expectation. Just experience it live. I feel like that's such a missing element in the way in which people consume media nowadays. Is you go in with such an idea of what you're about to experience something so fresh, so different, so cool. Is rare these days.
It's actually something I try and do throughout life. Like when I'm trying to decide a movie, if I get 10 seconds into the trailer and I'm like, yep, I'm going to watch it, I stop watching the
100%.
trailer.
I don't even watch movie trailers anymore. I just don't do it because you sit there and you go, I've just seen the movie. Why would I go see the cinemas when I've just seen all the best bits put into a fucking trailer?
Yeah. When in any point in life has the bar being set before you experience something ever worked, ever?
Exactly. Yeah, you're either going to exceed it or you're going to be really underwhelmed.
And look, I'll agree with you there. Like Outer Wilds, the best game I've ever played, was something that I found it through hearing a song. That's how I found that game.
Wow.
It was really like, what's this song? And it was from that game, and that's how I ended up playing it. And it was the best because I went in fresh. So I hear you. Coming back to Control, I'll agree with you there. Yeah, it seems like it's going to take you on this very, kind of investigative kind of street cop kind of vibe. And then, you get in there and it's essentially the FBI they're experimenting with portals and time travel. And there's this almost like a disease that's gotten into the building and you got to figure it out. So
yes.
It does. It takes you very, very sharp turn into that mystical fantasy world of,
yeah, it really does. It really does. Like it just, I'm going to left field here, but it reminds me of watching Parasite, where you're watching Parasite. I don't know anybody who's seen that movie, one sort of movie of the year or whatever it was a little bit ago. I remember watching half of Parasite going like, what the hell is this movie about? And never got to the part where there's the fucking people living in the walls. And was just like, this is a really weird, like cultural shifty kind of movie. And then you get to that part and you're like, what the fuck am I watching? And that's what happened with this game. You enter into what is the Federal Bureau of Control. So it's not quite the FBI, but it's, in sort of a version of it.
The FBI with extra steps.
That's right. And, you're looking for your brother is sort of the preamble to this. And you go to the oldest house, which is the sort of where the game exists. You play the entirety of it within this building, and the building is a Hogwarts-esque but a more modern version of moving staircases, moving buildings, things shifting inside this. It's much larger internally than the building looks externally.
It's a
has
great
personality.
Yeah, it's like scenes from Inception.
Yes, that's perfect. Yes.
Well, that's a great analogy of this game and the building that you're in. That's how the changing environment of it is very, very similar to that movie.
Yes. So you're the protagonist is Jessie Fadden, and she sort of enters this looking for a brother and just gets embroiled in what is occurring there. This hiss enemy type is invading from an alternate dimension. There's objects of power is a huge element within this game. You kind of come across items that give her powers. And it was one of the first games that came out that utilized ray tracing on graphics cards. So it visually was stunning, grabbed you. The art style was amazing. The way sort of you're running through this office block and these enemies are kind of coming out, kind of flying at you. You eventually get the powers of grabbing items and throwing them, sort of a la Half-Life with that gravity gun we talked about in the last pod, but more sort of telekinetic kind of ability. She can fly. It just sort of all these things. Like obviously, people now listening to the podcast were in essence spoiling these experiences that when you're playing the game and you don't know that when it occurs, you're like, fuck, this game is leveling up. Like, when we get to reviewing this and we talk about character development, it is through the fucking roof. Like, it is such an experience and a dive within this world. I had such a pleasure playing this game.
And yeah, I played it very recently off the back end of your recommendation for me, loved it. And to be honest, we've spoken about it in essence, but we have not spoiled anything. There is still so much depth to this game outside of what you've mentioned. And you're absolutely right. Like, even something you discover very early on is that this Jessie character, she has the power to kind of control that hiss, very much like Harry being a parcel tongue in Harry Potter, like kind of like that
There's
vibe.
Connection there,
and that adds to the character development so much because she has this internal conundrum going on between hearing that speak to her and how she interacts with the NPCs in the game and the decisions that you make as a character. So character development in this game is probably the best I've played in the last decade.
I would agree, yeah. And I think that the way the story beats unfold and the game world opens up internally within this skyscraper, it just, oh man, like they really nailed it. Like I found it such a pleasure to play it. The reviews when it came out were borderline glowing, and it was marked down. And one of the marks down I found really interesting was that the map, or sort of navigating the map, was really complicated.
I was just about to say this.
And I kind of remember playing it and going, I agree to an extent that I found it a little frustrating at times where it was like, right, you have to get back to this fucking place. And you look on the map and it's like layered, sort of moving, like there's a lot of parts to it. And you're like, I'm so fucking lost. You end up running around in circles versing enemies that you would have avoided otherwise. But I think that's part of the game.
It is part of it.
The map was supposed to be complicated. It's supposed to be that art style and this moving autonomous building, a la Hogwarts with the fucking moving staircases and shit like that. It's supposed to be complicated. Like, I don't think that was a mark against it. It was like, no, that's actually just a part of the fucking game.
Do you keep saying Allah?
Yeah, well, I don't, Allah V, I don't know.
Oh, do you mean like an old magic prestige term? Next say a few times, I was like, what the fuck?
As in like that thing? Yeah, no. I don't know. We could do it, alas.
Almost,
I don't, in the corrections corner, we can correct me on.
I'm with you. Yeah, and you know why? Is because the map was difficult because this game built up as opposed to out. You know what I mean? It had a building where the map had to build up, so on top of itself, story by story by story, as opposed to out. But I will say it could have been done better, and it was complicated. Yeah. You should have been able to change the levels that you were looking at on the mini map, so that you could only see the level that you were on and maybe a staircase, because sometimes it took far too fucking long to get to the next section because they just didn't figure that out. But outside of that, I'm with you. Great game. And like, what I love about it are the puzzle element of it too. Like, yes, between the old house and navigating between different areas of this map, like you'd have to go into like a motel section, and the puzzles that were in the motel were spooky.
They were
sometimes challenging, but really, really engrossing.
Yeah, so they're looking at making a Control 2. There was 2 DLCs that came out for this game. I played one of them. I want to play the other DLC that came out for this one. And yeah, when we get to the review part of this, and T's going to sort of preempt me on our categories here, let's see what we get.
Well, let's do it now.
All right.
I'll be ready. Storyline.
9.5.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
The only reason I don't give it a 10 is I remember it being like, I kind of need to Google what the fuck this acronym means. Like, I've kind of forgotten what that is. And, it almost is so deep and intricate and elements to it that at times you're like, wait a minute, what the fuck's going on here? I'm a little lost.
Feel mechanics.
That's got to be a 10. That like the gunplay was good, the flying, the throwing items, and the the whole thing of it I found really tight. There was never any like jankiness about it, or I didn't want to do that. I've accidentally shot or fallen over or clipped into a wall. None of that shit.
Yeah, it's hard to find fault in the way it flows. I'll agree with that. It's challenge and entertainment.
Entertainment 9.5. Challenge.
Remember, challenge is part of how much you're entained. No one likes an easy game, so you got to take that into consideration.
I mean, so okay, if that's the case, I think let's be honest with it and say, like an 8.5. I never found myself going, I'm rerunning it multiple times or anything like that. I mean, sure, if anything, sometimes we were kind of overpowered. You know what I mean? Like, they weren't too challenging.
If you're a gamer that likes dexterity and uses all resources available to you, which a lot of people don't.
Well, yeah.
But if you do, you could be times overpowered.
Yeah.
Like just picking shit up and throwing it across the room is dope. So much fun.
I because I'm a meticulous gamer, I often find I am overpowered because you collect everything and then you level up your items so much that when you get to some boss fights, you're like, oh, actually, it was supposed to be a lot harder than it was for me. But anyway.
I think 8.5 is still a good mark there.
Yep.
Character development and build.
The way in which the character develops and what she becomes and the way in which she learns the powers, the skills, you got to give it a 9.5.
Yeah, I'd already preempted it as you were saying your explanation there. I could read your mind. I agree. Anything extra about the game? Wow moments. It's hard to speak to loot in this game. There's an element of it, but it's not a huge part.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say that's a minus to it of sort of a looting element, but I think the game world that they created and the way it plays and the environment feel of it, I would give it a higher mark. So I'd 7, 8 for that one. Yeah, it's just kind of.
I think the wow moments were really good in this game. I'd struggle to give this category less than an 8.5 if you agree with me there.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there, yeah.
All right. 9.2 out of 10.
I'm there for that. I think this game and Returnal for me, I put in a very similar bucket of just two of the best games I've played in the better part of the last 5 years.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think that the reason why this is rating so high as well in our review system is this. It resembles the perfect game for an evening gamer.
It does, yeah. You're actually 100%.
You don't need to travel like you do in Dragons Dogma between cities that can take 20 minutes to do. You don't need to worry about whether or not you're over-encompassing your inventory and all these other things that come into games these days. It's just you're in a building, there's a great storyline, you have your abilities, you know what your character's all about, and you can just do it's objective-based. You can just do the next task when you log on straight away.
This game is like reading a good book. Yeah. I found it hard to put it down. And that they're the games you want to play. They're the games I love playing where you're at work and you go, I'm leaving 5 on the dot, hit the bus to get home to give myself a little bit of extra time to play this fucking game.
Yeah, so I think it encapsulates the games that we really love to play and want to continue talking about on this podcast. So Control, I think, leading the way for this new review system so far.
So if you've listened to our review, now go fucking play it.
Yeah, now go play, you dick, not listening to us before.
We're talking to you, Kyle.
9.2 out of fucking 10. Leading the way, Control, and Jesse Watts her fucking tits. Very good game.
All right, questions from our hat. We're at 45 minutes. Let's hit it.
Okay, my question. Most shameless, embarrassing purchase in a game. You know what? I've got a few, but I want you to go first for your own question.
So mine is a Ubisoft fucking game of the old, and I think I even mentioned it back in the Assassin's Creed. Back when I 100% of those games, Ubisoft, the bastards, would say, you want 100% this game, and you can't be bothered to go find it all yourself? Why don't you pay us $10 and we'll tell you where it is to go and get fucking gold in a game that you purchased with nothing? And I was like, here's my $10 willingly. What idiot. In a game that you then do it and then you never play it again and it's irrelevant.
I know, but everyone loves those purchases sometimes. Mine would be in Clash of Clans. I bought a skin for a hero in a mobile game that is the size of my fingernail. It's just like the dumbest. And you know what? I loved it too. When I equipped it, I was like, fuck yeah. Everyone that has $10 has that skin, but fuck yeah, man. I've got it
I just
too.
love the idea of just being like, I'm going to buy this skin, $10.
And
Then you're on your way to work in a homeless place. It's like, can I have $10? Fuck off, peasant.
I gave that to Supercell this morning. No, and it was a skin that made my, oh my God, it was a skin that made my Grand Warden look like a Cookie Monster.
Oh my
It was
God.
ridiculous. Anyway, what's the question I've written down for you? Let's go.
Okay. Game you physically broken or thrown out.
I can go first.
Yeah, go on.
I have physically ejected FIFA 14 from my Xbox One and broken it in half and escorted it out to the fucking bin, mate. All in one swift motion.
I feel like that's actually like really therapeutic. Of like you've just broken the curse that it had over you. Of like
anyone that's played FIFA would know exactly what led me to that. The game fixing in that game is insane. And I had a game where I just had enough, and I was like, you know what? It's the controller or the game right now because something's got to happen here. And it was I broke it in half, threw it out, and didn't look back. Didn't even buy it again. Didn't download it. And that was the last FIFA game I ever played.
Yeah, fair. I've never really delved too deep into FIFA, but I know what you mean. I'm sort of the few times I have played it, I found it frustrating. So there's probably never a game that I've snapped and escorted to the garbage bin, which you so eloquently described there. But I've definitely broken a controller in my heyday, and the game was a really weird one. It's bloody Sled Storm on the PS2, where you're bloody driving around on like ATVs or whatever, the snowmobile fucking thing, doing tricks off a thing. And I was trying to get like a high score or something, and I just couldn't nail it. And I snapped this PS2 controller in the process of just burying it into the floorboards. And learnt my lesson, as a young man does, of, losing your temper. My parents weren't too pleased with my abuse of the floorboards, but anyway.
It's so funny. That's in a gaming era as well, where they were still wired. Controllers were still wired. So if you flung the controller across the room, there goes the console as well.
Yeah, that's 100%. Yeah.
Everyone's got a game that, and the thought process in your head that's like, fuck this game. Nope, controller gone.
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah, jeez. And then 2 weeks later, you bought another controller and you're back at it. You're sort of worse off for it.
Well, we apologise for our sounding congested and flu-riddled. Ridden. Well, we are. That's because we are. So you're welcome.
Flu's been riding me hard.
Yeah. You're welcome for this AM radio level depth of voice.
Yeah, true. I hope it's ASMR.
Everyone have a good, I was going to say have a good long weekend because we're recording this on the Friday before the long weekend, but you're not going to listen to it until next week. So there's nothing else to say, but don't be an NPC.
Keep leveling up.